Hey everyone, it is Dustin with TechMD. We're going to be tearing apart a brand new laptop. This laptop tends to run really hot, and also, like if you want to do some mining or gaming, you're going to definitely have some fan ramps from this particular laptop. But it's 115 watt 30 RTX 3060. It's i7, I do believe, and it's a Dell laptop. It's the new G15, I do believe. Let's look at that here. Yeah, G15 511. Which funny thing is, it's the same model number as my other G15s. My other G15 only had 95 watt, and it actually mined a little bit more than this one, but this one overheats. So there you go. We're going to upgrade the thermal paste on it to do liquid metal, but you can use any kind of other thermal paste. I recommend liquid metal, but you do need to maintenance it, I'd say every year at least, maybe every 2 years, depending on how much you use it. If you're mining on it, every 6 months. And then make sure you Dell G15. Make sure you be really careful with liquid metal, because you can certainly short out things. So since I'm a cell phone tech, I usually already have all the tools I need to open up a laptop. You're gonna need a 00 screwdriver to start. Make sure the laptop is off completely, not in sleep mode. And we're just gonna go ahead and remove the bottom screws, and we're gonna organize everything on another mat over here. We wanna put the screws back in the same hole that we found them in. We're gonna take our iseasmo tool right here. Let's zoom out a little bit. It's just a tool to help get the plastics loose, but mine's already seems to be loose around the edges here, so that's great. We don't have to really go further than that. So plastic tools such as this will work great for getting in there without really worrying about damaging anything, but you don't really need to get in there too deep. Just doing a little bit of a twisting action to see if I can pop this loose. And I'm doing some lifting action with my fingers here. Good on this other side here. These clips do not want to come out. There we go. Just press down a little bit and then they popped out. Okay, let's go ahead, and the first things first is we're gonna disconnect this battery. Let's try to keep this zoomed in as much as possible. And it looks like there's a little lever that we can press, and this comes right out like that. So battery is now officially disconnected. We can leave the battery in here, or we can remove it. As far as I can see here, it looks like we're just fine with leaving it. Let's go ahead and take this out. So what we want to do, let's go ahead and take these two big screws. Remember to try to organize everything the best you can. And turn the laptop up, and there's a couple more screws right here and right here. I'm not sure if this thing is ready to come out or not. Probably not yet. It's just one of those first steps that we want to do though. I think it should be able to come out. As I remember on the previous laptop, I've taken one of these things apart before, just the previous generation. Same year though. There we go. Just pulled further. It came right out. Okay, so I'm gonna set that piece aside. So all these screws basically needs to come loose, and cables and whatnot. I'll loosen up under here. This should be our power in cable. Yep. We're going to go ahead and loosen up this screw here. That's for our Wi-Fi antenna. Just going to lift that up. I'll lift up and then pull this way. Do a little bit of wiggling action. And then we're just going to set the Wi-Fi antenna out of our way, off the board. All right. Go ahead and start removing some of these screws. Right here is your second M.2 that you can insert if you want to upgrade, or obviously upgrade your memories right there too. Just wiggle that out. That's your hard drive, aka SD, or SSD, I should say. All right, one right here. As I remember, there's no screws under here, but we'll double check. I know there's no screws under here. All right, we're gonna go ahead and remove this fan clip. Usually you can get them out with some pliers, or you can wiggle it out. This one wiggles out. Go ahead and pull this one out just with our fingernails, but you can also use a plastic tool. And then we got a screw up here. Two screws over here. And this plate comes out. I'm just going to guide that carefully out. We're going to put that back in once we reassemble it. Okay, there's another little fan controller. Wiggles right out. Just moving that off to the side. Looking for some more screws, see if we have any more screws in this. Oh, we got one right here. Interesting, got a little alien symbol. All right, so now we're gonna disconnect all these ribbon cables. Best to make sure you lift on the right direction and not the wrong direction. Because if you do, you're gonna have a really bad time. So we're gonna pull that one out. This one will come out with the board. This one doesn't really have a pull tab. We'll pull these out with the board when it comes out. Let's go ahead and remove the display cable. Pull this up. And then we're going to lift this little bracket up. And this is gotta be really careful because this thing's expensive. and just move that aside. Now this board here looks like it's connected to this. Pretty solid. So I don't want to damage that. We're going to go ahead and take this clip out. And remove this screw here. Let's see if we have some lift on the board yet. There are some pads under there that may give you a little bit of a struggle to lift the board out. So it doesn't lift straight up, and these fans are coming with us apparently. We might not even have to disconnect the fans. Go ahead and pull the board out with these cables still attached. We're moving these cables out of the way. Careful, come on. There we go. This is pretty much exact same procedure as the previous Dell. We're gonna go ahead and set this whole entire assembly over there. Now we're going to start working on the fans, or the clamps here. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and these screws have to be back to where you found them. Okay, so we're going to take a plier here and see if we can loosen up this screw. There we go. It did loosen up a little bit. Now we should be able to take our 00 screwdriver. Certainly don't want to strip that, or you're not going to be ever getting inside there. You have to drill out the screw, and that's not fun. And I don't know where you could find replacement screws. So you gotta be really cautious. Okay, so we're gonna lift straight up here. This is a little bit in the way, so just move that out of the way a little bit. But we don't want to bend this, so just be careful. All right, that's lots of thermal paste on there. Nice thick amount here. These pads here need to remain. If the pads move over here, that's fine, it's not a problem, but we got to make sure the pads stay. Pads will keep your VRAMs cool, and actually replacing these pads are quite difficult. Trying to get the right sizes on these, it's just near impossible. So I don't recommend it anymore. I've tried and it's a nightmare. All right, so we're gonna need some microfiber rags, or some of these little thin ones that I have. This looks like pretty decent paste that they had on there. So replacing the thermal paste with something better might not be that great. Only do that if, I mean, to be honest, I would only replace the thermal paste here is if it's after a couple of years of lots of gaming or like 6 months of mining. This might not even be relevant soon because mining may not be a thing, but we'll find out soon enough. Trying to clean this without moving that board very much is kind of important. Let's clean up some of that excess. Then we'll paste that moved over here. Don't need that on the copper. Okay. Throw our dirty little rags away. Get some clean ones with clean fingers. My fingers are not very clean, so I'm going to clean them off real quick with some alcohol. 99% is what I use. I recommend using the same. Get them nice and shiny. Okay, let's move that aside. Next is this. Should have cleaned both of these off first before cleaning my fingers, but oh well. Okay, now we got those nice and clean. You clean out your vents with a canned air if they're dirty. Mine are pretty clean. I got this laptop in December, so I have 2021. That's how new the new G15 is. Yeah, buying some just more black Q-tips instead of keep on reusing the same old one. Probably a good thing. Considering I bought the 5 gram, only buy the 5 gram if you're a professional, and it is a beast to deal with anyway, so I don't recommend buying a 5 gram. 1 gram to get used to it, and then maybe 5 gram in the future once you get used to it. Okay, we're gonna just put a little bit of a dot on there. And you know what? We are going to zoom in for the audience. I will try to keep this best I can for you guys. Okay, so if it comes out too much like that, just pull your little lever. And I'm just sucking it back in. I might have sucked it in too much, but we'll find out. And we'll just take our braided side of our black Q-tip. It's hard to describe, but looks different than the other side. And also put this in somewhere where you don't care where the metal is. Okay, and one thing I did forget to do is put a coating around the GPU. I'm going to do that here in 1 minute. But if you're good, you don't really need that coating. Okay, so we got a little bit left here. We're going to put that on top of the heatsink on the other side. But we're going to first use, you do that immediately, or you can have a second Q-tip like I have and you don't have to do it immediately. Where am I at? So just a bottle of clear coat. You're supposed to put this on first because you don't want to get any liquid metal along these resistors. Okay, next is the CPU. Just got a little too much. I'm just pulling the lever a little bit. The plunger. Oop. It's hard to get the right amount on here. It's the only problem with liquid metal. Definitely want to pull on this lever though before putting it away, because if not, it'll leak all out. So just a tiny bit, as you guys can see here, this whole entire processor. If it's not spreading right, then that means you didn't clean it good enough. You could take acetone to the chip if you have to, but you definitely need to get this chip clean if it's not spreading. Also a new Q-tip if you have an old used one. It really needs to be these black ones. I'll link them in the description. And we're going to just set that aside. I'm just using the same Q-tip I just used. Don't need to put anything additional. Just start in the middle. And then just go around. Just need to make every spot shiny. If you run out, you can grab some more off of your chip. I just stole some off the chip. I don't remember if it's the full length of here or not, but we're going to make it go full length as much as we can. Okay, next one is the GPU. Set our CPU Q-tip aside. Let's work on the GPU. There's a little square things here, and I still feel like there's a little bit of a haze on there. So what I'm going to do is just take another rag and get a little bit more alcohol in it and wipe it clean again. You really want this clean surface as much as you can. Alright, this might need some definite extra, so we'll see. go along to those edges where it is saying the GPU should be. That's really only where you need the liquid metal. Just need to make it shiny, that's it. Doesn't need anything extra, just shininess. Okay, and we don't want this liquid metal to interfere anywhere, so we definitely want to get rid of those Q-tips here shortly. And move our liquid metal away from the situation. Yeah, my clear base coat seems to have dried up all the way. I am going to go see if I can get some more real quick. All right, I got another bottle of it. Just want a nice thick coat. You can always do a second coating if you're concerned about the thickness of your coating. You do not want one little tiny ball to hit that resistor. It's very conductive. Okay, I'm satisfied with the quality of work. We should be good to go. We're gonna go ahead and not throw those away just in case we have to re-put it back or take it back apart. If you don't get your liquid metal just right, it can overheat and stuff like that. But a lot of times it's the screws. If you don't put the screws right, or if you mess with those thermal pads, man, you can have a nightmare. So if you are gonna mess with thermal pads, I'd recommend doing the liquid metal first, then messing with those. All right. Just as we had it initially. I'm just putting this plate back on here. I want to line it up perfectly before pressing it down. Or near perfect. What I like to do is put a screw in about halfway. About halfway there. Halfway. Halfway. I'd say most of the way on that one, then all the way on this one. This is our little screw that was giving us issues. So that one didn't want to go in all the way. And I'm just doing most of the way here on all four of these, on the outer edges. Now I'm tightening them up. Okay, all my screws, just double check, should be all tightened. Yep, they're all tightened. And now we're ready to start putting this all together again. I just want to move all of our cables out of the way. Make sure nothing's in the way. And then these three cables are gonna have to plug in. Same with this one here. There's a little metal bracket kind of hangs over there. All right, let's pull these cables through. Tweezers might help us. Set that down carefully. And this cable's through. This cable's still out of the way. All right, looks like we can start connecting cables. This one looks like the most difficult one. Our keyboard. Just pressing down and inward to get that one in there. Next one. Same problem. Oops. Put that back up. We gotta make sure it sits flush. Push that in. There we go. This one popped back out. It happens. This has to go underneath these little connectors here. So it's kind of hard to see what I'm talking about. There's some metal pins right there that you gotta make sure that thing slides under there. All right, now we can start connecting the rest of these. And just be very careful. These are all very delicate. Just take your time. This laptop, believe it or not, really works best when it's opened because of the vents on the front. So really not gonna be able to tell how well it's doing until you put it all together, unfortunately. Okay. It's not going to kill you if you miss a screw either, but if you organize it just right, everything will go in the way you found it. Also, you have a video to look back upon. I don't. Well, I guess I could, but yeah. Anyways. Oops. Come back here, M.2. It's crazy how all the data is saved on this one little card. heat sink for it. All right, let's start putting all these screws together. Okay, and then we're gonna get this back piece back on. Just checking this other side here, it's just not clipping in properly. See what I'm doing wrong. And here we go. Clips don't quite love me. Looks like we had a broken something there, causing that. Broken piece of plastic, who knows? Check our antenna wire, see if it's something causing here. Maybe. Put the antenna under there. And back under here where it belongs. That looks all like it's all sitting right. One more time. Aha, that's better. Having a magnetized screwdriver is always helpful. You can always buy a remagnetizer too, which I use those all the time. Especially for these awkward screws here. Looks like our battery connector. How nice of it, can use. Yeah, it wasn't in all the way, that's why. And let's hope I didn't supposed to have a cable there, because if I don't, then it's not gonna work, the keyboard won't work. So far I'm 1 hour into this project. That's how long it took me to basically go start finish, but then again I did go look for some other stuff and I had a phone conversation which is all being edited out. So I think not distracted with all my proper tools in place, I could get these in and out in about 40 minutes. If this is your first time doing it, this is going to be a much more difficult project for you, as it's not always easy for an amateur to open up a laptop. Okay, now for testing. Looks like the mouse was working and the keyboard's lit up. That's always a good thing. Okay. And we're gonna go ahead and just check our idle temps. So let's just type in HW info, and then we're gonna download that. If your fans are ramping, you probably just didn't seal it properly. It's happened to me many times. So this is a i7, I was right. Okay, so our core is sitting at 45. Package is sitting at 60 degrees Celsius to 52. That's pretty jumpy when it comes to liquid metal. GPU is just sitting at 43, barely doing anything. So I would say, anyways guys, thanks for watching. I would say this is a pretty successful job well done. And if you guys are interested in getting liquid metal for your laptop, I'd be glad to do that for you. I'm going to run one final test, make sure that it's running good. But if you guys want to keep on watching, you can. We'll just fast forward through it. But yeah, please like and subscribe.